Good morning, students. This is going to be the revision of the Browning version. Your examination, your periodic 3, as well as your final examinations are around at the corner. So, we are going to start your revision from this chapter because this chapter may be the part of your periodic test 3, right? So, let's have a class on this chapter. This chapter is a part of the book The Browning Version, written by Franz Reagan. The scene has been set up in a school where the two teachers, Mr. Frank, who is a young teacher, Crocker Harris, who is a middle aged teacher, they are masters in that school. Taplo is a student in the age of 16 only. He has been given some extra work by his teacher, Mr. Crocker Harris, so he was waiting for his teacher. And Crocker Harris, he hadn't arrived till that time when another teacher, Frank, who found Taplo standing there. So, this is actually a play where we see the conversation between a teacher and the student take place, and let us get out of their conversation what they say. Frank, do I know you? Taplo, no sir. What's your name? Taplo. Taplo, no, I don't. You are not a scientist, I gather. No, sir. I'm still in the lower fifth. I cannot specialize until next term. That's to say, if I have got my remove all right. Don't you know if you have got your remove? No, sir. Mr. Crocker Harris doesn't tell us the results like the other masters. You see, Frank, finding Taplo, who was waiting for his teacher, he asked his name, and he told his name Taplo, right? And Frank was trying to get if he has been a student of his class because he is a science teacher. That's why he said scientist. Scientist means if he was a student of science or not. For which Taplo replied his teacher that he was a student of lower fifth only, and in the next year, upcoming year, he would be able to do his classes in special classes of science, suppose. And this dark word you see, remove, you can understand the meaning of this word when he said, if I have got my remove all right, examination result, if there is no compartment in our Indian system, if he passes all subjects in his examination, and then he will be able to study science. So till then he will have to wait for the result. And Frank was surprised, and he wanted to know from Taplo if he hadn't got his result. And Taplo further replied, and he appreciated Mr. Crocker Harris while saying that his teacher does not disclose the results like the other masters. Wherein you see he was appreciating Mr. Crocker Harris. On the one side, he is also criticizing other masters. It means other masters do not follow the rules and regulation of school, while Mr. Crocker Harris is a man of character and he does not share the result with his students, right? My dear students, you will be surprised in this chapter. The conversation would be taking between Frank and Taplo while you will be preparing a good character sketch of Mr. Crocker Harris. Though he does not appear in the scene, but he becomes very important character from the conversation between a teacher and a student, right? Frank, why not? Well, you know what he is like, sir. I believe there is a rule that form results should only be announced by the headmaster on the last day of term. Yes, but who else pays attention to it except Mr. Crocker Harris? I don't, I admit, but that's no criterion. So you have got to wait until tomorrow to know your fate. Have you? Yes, sir. Supposing the answer is favorable, what then? Oh, science, sir, of course. Now, Frank, when he listened and he explained the student that there is a rule. What's the rule about the announcement of the result? There is a headmaster in the school who is the authorized person who can declare the result in the school. But no other master except Mr. Crocker Harris follow the rule, and they announce or they share the result with their students before the announcement of the headmaster, which is as per rules and regulations of the school is wrong. But Mr. Crocker Harris always follows the rules, and that's why Taplow is telling he had no information about his result. And just for his apprehension, now his teacher Frank he wanted to know from Taplow if he passes all his papers and there is no stay or no compartment in the this present class, so what subject he would be opting in the next class. And Taplow, my dear students, he is a very smart student. He knows very well how to please a teacher. And that's why because he knows Frank is a teacher of science, and that's why he says if he passes this class, he would opt science. And now you see what Frank said. Sadly, he is not happy at the answer of Taplow, and he said, yes, we get all the slackers. Slackers means who shirk work, who are not happy while doing the works. You will come to know here, Frank, he discloses the result, first of all, right? And he does not like his students when he says all his students are slackers, means they are not interested in doing work. It means what does it mean? A teacher does not like his students, and he is not interested in his students. It means that a teacher is not we can say a teacher who does not like his students, if he can be a good teacher or not, you can judge, right? Then Taplow protestingly, I'm extremely interested in science, sir. Though Taplow is trying to justify his teacher that he really likes his subject science. Science is very interesting. Taplow is trying to convince his teacher. Frank said, are you? I'm not. Not at least. In the science I have to teach. Taplow, well, anyway, sir, it's good deal more exciting than this muck, indicating his book. He has a book in his hand. Now, you see another feature of this teacher Frank, when he said a teacher of science is not interested in his own subject, then how shall he be teaching in his classes? You can imagine, my dear students, if a teacher does not his subject, a teacher who does not love his students, so he cannot be a good teacher according to me also, right? You find Mr. Frank is there, he's a science teacher, he does not like his students, he does not like his subject, right? And rather he finds faults in his students. But Taplow, again, he is trying to convince his teacher, after all, science is a better subject than that uninteresting, unpleasant book he showed to Frank. What is this muck? Aeschylus, sir, the Agamemnon. And your conceded view is that the Agamemnon is muck? Well, no, sir. I don't think the play is muck exactly. I suppose, in a way, it's rather a good plot, really. A wife murdering her husband and all that. I only mean the way it's told to us. Just a lot of Greek words strung together and 50 lines if you get them wrong. Now, students, you will understand the words how Taplow is finding fault in the teaching of present teachers. When he showed the book and Frank, he asked him if the book he had shown to him, if that was not interesting. That Aeschylus, that Agamemnon is not an interesting book. Taplow replied that book is interesting. Play is very interesting because all the plots, rather the story of the play where a wife she murders her husband and that suspense in the story, all these things are very interesting, but the way it is taught by the teachers is not appreciable. Taplow criticizes the method of teachers used by them in the class. He says there are many words in Greek, and all teachers, what they do, they ask them to learn all those words a number of times. If any word is written or spoken by them wrong, their method is not good. The method adopted by the teacher in the class is not good, otherwise, the book is very interesting. You will see Taplow understands how the teachers they work in the school, like Frank, like other masters, they disclose the result, right? And how they teach in the class, it is not liked by the students. So he easily can recognize the faults of the teachers. Frank, you sound a little better. Taplow, I'm rather, sir. Captain, no, sir, extra work. Captain has been made dark. Frank, the science teacher, he wanted to know from Taplow if he had been kept over there. Taplow replied him that he had been given some extra work by Mr. Crocker Harris. For that extra work, he had been waiting for his teacher, Mr. Crocker Harris, who had not come yet. Frank, extra work? On the last day of the school? Again, teacher is surprised because no other child had been given any extra work except Mr. Taplow. And Taplow, this was going to be the last day of the school, end of the session, you can understand. And at the end of the session or the last day of the school, and extra work he finds no he finds it not appropriate, right? And that's why he becomes surprised. Then Taplow told him, yes, sir, and I might be playing golf. You would think he had have enough to do anyway himself, considering he's leaving tomorrow for good, but oh no, I missed the day. Last week when I was ill, so here I am. And look at the weather, sir. Now Taplow is regretting. He is regretting because all the other students They were going to leave the school because this was going to be their last day, and all of them they had been given their results perhaps. And he could also play golf like other students. But once he had missed the class in the last week because of his illness, and that's why he had been given some extra work and he was waiting over there for his teacher, Mr. Crocker Harris. Teplo also likes the weather that time. He finds the weather is fully suitable to play, not to wait for somebody or not to be given any extra work. Frank, bad luck. Still, there is one comfort. You're pretty well certain to get your remove tomorrow for being a good boy in taking extra work. See, another important point. Frank wants to know bad luck because he had missed his one of the classes, right? But he just wanted to know if he would be given any comfort because he had been doing extra work for his teacher, and that's why there would remain no chance of any remove, means he would not get any compartment, any paper not passed, and it would be sure that he would be passing his examination and he would be joining in the next class. So what Frank wanted to say, that he would be getting the favor of the teacher for whom he was waiting there, for whom he was standing there, by whom he was given that extra work. He would get the favor of the teacher, and that would be a comfort for Teplo, according to Mr. Frank. Teplo said, "Well, I'm not sure, sir. That would be true of the ordinary masters, all right. They just wouldn't dare not to give a chap a remove after his taking extra work. But those sort of rules do not apply to the Croc. Mr. Crocker Harris, I asked him yesterday outright if he had given me a remove, and do you know what he said, sir?" Now, Teplo is again criticizing other masters by calling them ordinary masters. When it was asked by his teacher Frank that he would be getting the favor of the teacher while getting his examination result, or remove, you can say, and he would pass all his papers and no paper would be left behind, right? But Teplo clearly told his teacher that it is possible in case of all other masters. They definitely declare the result to their students if any student perform any extra work for them. But as far as Mr. Crocker Harris is concerned, never ever this is possible. And he told his teacher how he was given a reply when he had asked about his result yesterday, last day only. Frank, he wanted to know about what was the reply of Mr. Crocker Harris. So Teplo told him, imitating a very gentle, rather throaty voice. Teplo imitates the voice of Mr. Crocker Harris. And what was said by Mr. Crocker Harris to Teplo when he had asked about his result, so he is trying to imitate the voice of his teacher. My dear Teplo, I have given you exactly what you deserve, no less, and certainly no more. Do you know, sir, I think he may have marked me down rather than up for taking extra work. I mean, the man's hardly human. He breaks off quickly. Sorry, sir, have I gone too far? Now, Teplo is imitating the voice of Mr. Crocker Harris, and he repeats all those words which were said by Mr. Crocker Harris. And Mr. Crocker Harris told Teplo He had given him the same marks which actually he deserved. He hadn't given any mark extra and not any less mark. Rather, Taplow told his teacher, Mr. Frank, that Mr. Crocker Harris is a teacher who could deduct the marks in case if any student is assigned any extra work. He calls his teacher, Mr. Crocker Harris, hardly human, means human qualities, means kindness is not there in the heart of Mr. Crocker Harris. But he stops thereafter and he felt sorry from Mr. Frank because of the words he was using for his teacher when he said hardly human. He felt sorry for that. And Frank also made him realize that he really had used harsh word for his teacher, Mr. Crocker Harris. And he said, yes, much too far. Taplow said, sorry, sir, I got carried away. Got carried away means he became emotional. And in his emotions, he had called his teacher inhuman. Frank. Evidently, he picks up a newspaper and opens it. Taplow? Yes, sir. What was that Crocker Harris said to you? Just repeat it, would you? Imitating again. My dear Taplow, I have given you exactly what you deserve, no less and certainly no more. You will see Mr. Frank, who is a young teacher who does not love his students, who does not love his subject, but he loves the imitation which was done by Taplow. Because he finds pleasure. He finds pleasure when Taplow was imitating the voice of Mr. Crocker Harris. This is another bad quality we see in the character of Mr. Frank. And that's why he asked Taplow to repeat all those words which were said by Mr. Crocker Harris to Taplow when he had asked about the result. And he repeated all those words. Frank, looking severe, not in the least like him. Read your nice Aeschylus and be quiet. Taplow with dislike Aeschylus. So thereafter Frank told Taplow that it would be better for him that he should have or he should show his interest while reading that book he was carrying with him, that Aeschylus, and for which he showed disliking expression on his face.